The workstation consists of a display, a keyboard, a pointing device for locating information on the display, a processor, and storage.
In the early 1970s, long before the World Wide Web, long before Google, long before anyone imagined a digital world, one company secretly built something that looked like the internet decades ahead of time. It had email, it had hyperlinks, it had instant messaging, it had file sharing, it had digital documents. It even had a fully networked office where every computer talked to every other computer wirelessly. And almost no one outside the building ever saw it. This wasn't built by Apple, not by Microsoft, not by AT&T, not by a government agency. It was built inside a single research lab in California, Xerox PARC. And for a brief moment, the future of the entire digital world existed behind one set of doors, years before the world would be ready to understand it. This is the story of the network that could have beaten the internet, and the company that let the future slip right through its fingers. Welcome to Missed Futures, the series where we explore the breakthroughs that arrived too early, and the visionaries who built tomorrow long before anyone else could see it coming. Today, we're diving into a future the world never got to live. To understand why Xerox PARC was so revolutionary, you need to understand the era. In the early 1970s, computers were giant machines locked in basements. They weren't personal, they weren't connected, they weren't intuitive, they certainly weren't creative. They were calculators with ambition. But in Palo Alto, a group of renegade researchers had a different plan. They believed computers should be personal, visual, connected, and powerful enough to let humans create, not just calculate. They didn't want machines for corporations. They wanted machines for people. So Xerox built them an entire campus and told them, invent the future. And they did. The first breakthrough was the Alto, the world's first personal computer. Not the Apple I, not the IBM PC, the Alto. It had a mouse, it had icons, it had windows, it had folders, it had a graphical interface decades ahead of its time. But the hardware was only half the story, because connected to every Alto was something far more mind-blowing: Ethernet, a high-speed computer network that let machines talk to each other in real time. It wasn't just fast, it was the foundation of how the modern internet works. With Ethernet, Xerox researchers built an entire digital ecosystem. Email before email, messaging before messaging, hyperlinks before the web, online collaboration before Google Docs, digital publishing before PDFs, shared databases before the cloud. At PARC, a secretary could type a memo, send it to a coworker, annotate a document, forward it, store it digitally, print it out, or send it across the building, all in seconds. In the 1970s, it was a functioning digital society inside one building. The future wasn't invented once, it was invented all at once. And Xerox had no idea what they were sitting on. Inside the lab, the culture was electric. Engineers pushed boundaries, scientists collaborated freely, ideas spread faster than they could be patented. Every new Alto workstation made the others more powerful. Every new program connected to the network made the system more alive. The PARC researchers created the first "what you see is what you get" text editor, the ancestor to Word, Pages, Google Docs. They created the first paint programs, the ancestors of Photoshop. They created the concept of overlapping windows, the ancestor of everything you're using right now. But what tied everything together was their internal network, the system that made the Alto more than a machine. A system that could have become the world's first true internet,
Not a crude protocol like ARPANET, not a military experiment, but a polished, user-facing, fully integrated, commercial-ready digital platform. Xerox had the future in their hands, and then they dropped it.
The tragedy of PARC wasn't that the technology didn't work. It worked perfectly. The tragedy was corporate culture. Xerox was a photocopier company, a printing company, a paper company. They didn't understand computers and didn't want to. Executives visited PARC and saw a mouse and windows and laughed. Who would want a computer with a screen? Who would need multiple programs open? Who would want email instead of memos? Why would anyone want computers to talk to each other? At Xerox headquarters, the future looked like a toy. So they ignored it. Even worse, they buried it. But the outside world was beginning to take notice. In 1979, a young Steve Jobs toured Xerox PARC. He walked through the lab. He touched the mouse. He saw windows open and close. He watched text flow across the screen. And he froze. It was like looking through a window into the 21st century. He understood instantly, emotionally, viscerally. This was the future of computing, and Xerox wasn't going to use it. Jobs left PARC determined to take their ideas and bring them to the world. Not illegally, Xerox gave Apple access in exchange for stock. Xerox didn't steal the future, Xerox gave it away. Because they didn't think it mattered. Within years, Apple would release the Lisa, then the Macintosh, then the GUI revolution, then everything that followed. Meanwhile, Xerox released a bigger photocopier. The Alto never hit the market. The information superhighway inside PARC never left the building. The world's first true digital network went unused. The first GUI went uncommercialized. The first personal computer stayed locked in labs. The first modern software ecosystem died in a corporate filing cabinet. And Xerox watched as Apple, Microsoft, and every major tech company built empires on the foundation they had invented. So what if Xerox had recognized PARC's potential? What if they had launched the Alto worldwide? What if they had commercialized Ethernet early? What if the Xerox network had become the default for offices? Imagine a world where Xerox, not Apple, shaped personal computing, where Xerox, not Microsoft, built the dominant operating system, where Xerox, not Google, created the online world, where the network invented at PARC became the internet. We could have had connected homes in the 1980s, smart offices in the 1990s, cloud computing decades earlier, online collaboration before the web, digital publishing years before PDFs, a computing world unified from the start. Instead, the world waited 20 years for ideas that were already alive at PARC. The tragedy isn't just what Xerox lost, it's what humanity lost. The future was ready. We weren't. The story of Xerox PARC isn't about failure. It's about misalignment. Brilliance trapped inside the wrong company. Vision trapped inside the wrong decade. Innovation trapped inside a place too early for the world around it. PARC didn't predict the future. They built it. And then Xerox buried it. This was Missed Futures, the series where we uncover the innovations that came too early, the creators who were too far ahead, and the futures we never got to live. Subscribe and join us next time. The next lost future might be even stranger.